Hello, dear students. Very good morning to all, and welcome to this week's videos. So finally, we reached to a week where we are going to discuss about the most integral part of this course, which is about news and information literacy. So particularly in this video, I'm going to discuss about news literacy. But before that, I would like to make you people clear about what do you mean by media literacy and how it is differed from news and information literacy. So when we develop this tendency to observe the media content critically, when we develop this tendency of finding what is news and what is not news in a content, when we recognize the news value in a particular content, then we will be called as a news literate. Now, how it is differed from media literacy. But before that, even though I'm not going to discuss about the information literacy in this video, but in order to make a clear distinction between all these three terms, I would like to, explain you about what do you mean by information literacy. So information literacy is about recognizing some information which is needed and the ability to recognize this information, to locate, evaluate, and use effectively that needed information is called, information literacy. You become information literate by that. So we already discussed about, the information, processing of information and how in this world of sea of information, how we scrutinize the information which is needed for us, right? So this is the difference between the news literacy and the information literacy. News literacy is pretty particular, whereas information literacy it is about everything which has been there for over long period of time, and news literacy can be over any incident or issue that has occurred just now or which is a very immediate your very immediate response to a particular happening. Now, how these two terms, particularly news and information literacy, is differentiated from the media literacy. So media literacy is an umbrella term where you develop this ability to access, to analyze, to evaluate, and create and act using all forms of the mass media that you have. Yeah? So mass media literacy is more about the implication of what you have in your hand, the all sorts of mass media forms, using all that platforms, how you access, how you analyze, evaluate, and create and act upon the information. That is about media literacy. So media literacy is something about a broad term, whereas news and information literacy have their own connotations, right? So we will understand about all these things as we go along with our following slides. But yeah, I wanted to, clear you the very distinction between all these three terms. So most of the people they understood these three terms as interconnected to each other, and sometimes they also exchange the use of all these terms, but you cannot do that because media literacy, once you become a news literate and information literate, you may not become a media literate. So in order to become a media literate person, you have other categories that you need to develop. You have other abilities that you need to develop in order to become a media literate. So for each of the literacy, media literacy, news literacy, and information literacy, they have their own abilities that we need to develop, right? So we will understand this all about all these things in our following slides. So how to become a news literate? As I have already started by saying that, the very ability to recognize a content and trying to find out whether that content has a news value or not, try to, critically assess that particular content, the news content, we become a news literate. But that's not that simple, okay? So we should develop this habit of reading news. When I say reading news, it is more of a traditional form of dialogue, right? So whenever you are being asked that do you read newspaper, it reminds me of the traditional form of mass media where we will have a newspaper in our hand and we will read it out, right? But it is a very different age where we don't have to always, pick up a newspaper and read it out. So the very proper question, even though I have, put my bullet point as reading news, I don't mean that. In today's digital age, you don't have to read news. More than that, we follow news, right? So the better way to put this question is, do you follow news? So in order to become a news literate, it's very important to follow a particular news because, as I say, that you have to recognize the news value in a particular content. And in order to do that, you have to critically analyze, you have to critically assess that particular content. And you can do that by following news, a particular news in different platforms. So today you will find that a particular news content, it is, circulated in thousand different platforms. So you don't, it's not possible for a human being to follow in each and every platform, but we should try our best to get every angle of that particular news and how is that being, represented in different platforms other than, newspaper, television and radio. So in today's age, it's, you will find that you have this notification, you have your own news feed, and then you should also go beyond your news feed. And how can you do that? You should directly, go to the website of particular news, media platform. For example, if you are looking up to a particular content, news content, it's not enough that you go through that content, whatever is there in your news feed. Or whenever you scroll down in your personal social media account, you'll come across various, news content, or that may not be news content if you try to assess the content in those particular, news. And you can do that by following that particular news in other different platforms, right? So it's very, very easy today. It has become very easy, and at the same time, it has become very difficult in order to find out, the very news value in a particular content. So you'll find news everywhere, but it's upon you and it's your critical analysis that will tell you that, okay, this particular content has a news value and this particular content do not have. So that is why we have been doing this news activity, right? So I just want to understand from you people, what do you mean by news? Before you can, detect what is fake news, you you should also have this ability to detect what is news, right? In order to separate the fake news from the news, it's not always compulsory that you should always detect the fake news, huh? Right? So I just want to go the other way. Let's find out, or let's first detect the news, right? Then the fake news will automatically be detected. So this is how, we become news literate. It is a responsibility, right? We become a responsible reader. We become a responsible journalist, responsible writer, responsible audience, right? When we follow news, and we follow news everywhere. Now, what are the more processes, or what are the more steps that will lead us to become a news literate? So apart from following news, we are not only the followers of the news, we are also a writer, we are also a reporter. We, each and everyone in this digital age, is considered to become a citizen journalist. What do you mean by citizen journalist? When I say writing news and reporting news, the bullet point that I have put in my slide, it doesn't mean you that you need to become a reporter, a professional reporter, in order to become a news literate. You don't have to, because without joining a professional news industry, even you can become a reporter today. You have already become a reporter. You have already become a news writer. How? By contributing your content to the mainstream media, right? So in today's digital age, we have, become a citizen journalist. Each of one, each one of us, we are contributing our opinions, we are contributing our comments, we are posting on a particular, topic, on a particular issue. We are expressing our own opinions on a larger platform. So that is also reporting. That is also writing news. So far today, we have been kept into or within this frame that in order to, become a news literate, you need to think like a reporter. You don't need to think like a reporter, right? You need to report by yourself. You need to, counter comment on the content that you're not agreeing to, that you don't find valid information on that particular content. You have the right to comment on that. You have the right to express your opinion on that, right? So when I say about writing news and reporting news, it doesn't mean the actual reporting. It means contribution, your expression of opinion on a particular issue. When you are posting that, you're reporting, you are contributing to the news, you're contributing to, to a writing, to a large scale writing of a particular issue. Okay. So we can see example when we understand, that how in a large media scale representations of a particular content, many comments become a news, right? So when citizens or the people, the audiences are commenting on a particular post, you'll find that sometimes that gets highlighted and news media or mainstream media, they pick up that comment, they pick up that content and try to highlight it as their main source of news. So you also become a source for the news, right? So this is how, we approach towards becoming a news leader. Okay. We are no longer a passive audience. We have become an active audience today, where we follow news, where we critically analyze the news, where we contribute to the news, where we comment news, where we counter post, right, on a particular. So this is how we write news or report news. Now, there is one more step that, we need to be very, we need to be aware about, which is about evaluating news. Now, when we say evaluating, how do you evaluate news? So most of us, we believe that news is, about facts, the facts and the figures. So the very accuracy in the news will come when we try to dig out onto the facts or on what facts and figures this particular news is based, right? But today, you should also be aware that apart from the facts and the figures that a particular news is based upon, we should also try to find out the truth about that fact. It has not only, remained figures, because the very objective of the news is to, give the truth on a particular issue, is to give the very, real picture of a particular issue, right? So when your particular news, when a particular news is completely based on a fact that do not have any truth, you are not, even though whatever calculations or whatever data and figures you are putting onto that news is going to be false anyhow, right? So the very truth about the facts and figures is to be, recognized. You need to you need to find out whether that facts and figures are accurate. You need to find out whether that facts and figures are supporting the very reality of that incident, of that particular issue, right? So finding the truth about the fact is finding, right? So when you find out the distinction between the fact and the truth about the fact in a news, you approach towards becoming a news literate, right?